Ill Sound Radio. We in the building for a special show.
Yes, sir. Happy Monday, man. For
That's
sure.
the first time we said that one.
For sure, bro. Hey, this our first time on the radio Monday. I know usually y'all used to hearing us on Sundays, man. This your boy Groove Nuke. I'm in here with Everyday Jay. How you feeling,
sir.
bro?
I can't complain.
For sure. And to my left, man, we got our special guest. We got DJ Burn one in the building, and he brought Paul through. How y'all feeling today?
Hey, thank you.
Good.
Sure,
hey, thanks for having us, man.
For
hey,
sure, man. Thank
great,
y'all.
man.
Thank y'all
Appreciate
for coming through. No doubt. Hey, shout out Erica for setting up this interview, man. For sure. I appreciate you, Erica, if you out there listening.
Definitely. Much love, Erica.
Now we gonna dive right in. So we talked about a little bit of your start with DJ and everything. You told me how like you started with the mixtape and corporations early. So talk about like your early start and getting into mixtapes and everything and how it led about to where you are now.
Yeah. So I started off doing kind of like just remixes on this program called Sony Acid Pro. And so I got into downloading music early, and so I just blend acapellas with instrumentals, and so I started working at a CD store.
For sure.
A mom and pop CD store, and then I started doing real mixtapes. And T.I. hosted my first mixtape when I was in high school.
You said T.I.?
Yeah, T.I. Yeah. So it was like I did one mixtape, and then these girls named Ecstasy that were signed to him. I was like, hey, could y'all host one of my tapes? And they were like, yeah. And so that gave me like legitimacy. And every day after school, I just get off and drive around 285, drop CDs off on consignment, and kind of just like learn on my feet. And so that kind of led me into meeting Gucci Mane. I randomly called one day looking. There was a song called Black Tea that was out as like the response to White Tea, and he was in this group called Never Again Records. And so I called, like randomly looked up the number in the phone book, called, and he picked up the phone. And so I go over to his. He calls. So anyways, he picks up the phone. I go over there. He invites me to a studio. He immediately takes me to Zaytoven's house and plays me So Icy. I was like, oh, this is dope.
That was before it came out?
Before it came out.
Oh,
yeah. I was like, yo, we should do a
mixtape. High
mixtape.
school while this was out?
Yeah. I was like, we should do a mixtape. He was like, what's that? Like at the time, artist tapes weren't a thing. And so I was like, you can put out your own music and basically get booked for shows without having to deal with the label. He was like, oh, I got a label right now that I'm working with. I'm actually working on an album. I'm not interested. I was like, well, thanks for not wasting my time.
Right.
There's a lot of time wasters. So anyways, about a year goes by. He puts So Icy out. It blows up. But then I think he got in some trouble with the law. He gets out of jail, releases a song. It doesn't do too well. And so people were kind of looking at him like a one-hit wonder at the time. And so he calls me. He's like, what was that thing you were talking about? I was like, a mixtape? He was like, yeah, let's do that. So in his autobiography, Gucci Mane really tells the whole story of how I gave him like the blueprint to do mixtapes. And I pretty much executive produced the project from taking the picture to putting together the project to deciding to make it 2 discs instead of 1. He wanted it to be like 1 24-track CD. I was like, bro, this ain't no limit no more. I was like, break it up and kind of let people chew on it. And anyway, so he let me really pretty much executive produce the whole thing. And we worked on it for like a month. And then it came out and did really well.
Oh, yeah.
Like I pretty much distributed it myself and everything. That's what I was saying. I get a lot of love in the Midwest to this day just from that project of I sent some CDs up there and then the bootlegging went crazy. And because of that, people just loved it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like,
and it's good. He kept you in mind, though, too, as well, actually calling you back, and they had a pride to, like, admit, like, okay, let's go with your idea.
Yeah, it was really awesome. It was dope that he even thought about it, right? Like, because I pitched him on and told him about it, but it just wasn't on his radar at the time.
Right.
But I guess at that time, he was like, I can book shows without dealing with the label. That thing was very appealing.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
And so that went good. And then I did Young Dro's first mixtape. I toured with Bubba Sparks. I A&R'd with him. I did some work with Rowdy Records. I did internet marketing for Dallas Austin's. He had a group called The Backwoods. And so I did internet marketing for them when I was like 19. And so from then, I went on and started tour DJing for Bubba Sparks, A&R'ing for him. And then I started doing mixing and mastering and production. And so basically I took a year off of doing music. I was kind of uninspired at a certain point. And I was like, man, I want to hear better music. And I was like, either I can complain about it or I can just make better music. Facts. And so, because I was working with Freddie Gibbs and Pill and all these dope rappers. But I didn't feel like all the beats were that dope. It was kind of like this point in time of where stuff was transitioning between samples and like original beats, but they weren't real like musical beats. It was just like kind of whatever. And so I wanted to hear samples, and eventually I ended up wanting to just learn how to make my own samples. But anyways, I made beats for a year and I just threw them up online at the end of that year, just thinking these are just practice beats. And
right.
ASAP Yams found 2 of them, and that's what became Rolling Up and Houston Old Head on ASAP Rocky's first project, Live Love ASAP.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's you talking about early days for both trap music and what they had going on with ASAP Mob. Yeah. That's like early blog era,
Oh, yeah, bro. And I had a blog then, too, Boulevard Street, boulevardstreet.com, and it was kind of my side thing, because while I was working on 5 beats a day, I was like, I got to do something. It's just a hobby, and so I was posting music. That's how I actually got connected with Rocky and them. because Yams had sent me one of his songs when he was just Rocky. It wasn't even ASAP at the time. It was a song called "Been Around the World," and I remember posting up being like, "New York dude rapping on some South shit," you know, like this is cool.
For sure.
And anyway, so it was dope to go from that to actually him having a project and come out and really impact the culture. So.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And so now, I'm sorry, keep going. No.
Let's take it back to when you said you was in high school, bro. Like, how does a high school kid have this foresight and be like, man, I'm going to do all these things, and then have the courage to tell Gucci Mane, like, you should do it like this?
Man, I was just so into, so I got onto the internet early when people weren't really onto it. And so I got onto like the earliest ways of online communities, like AOL chat rooms and stuff like that, where you could download music and meet with other people. And so I was just always curious. And just wanted to learn more and do different stuff. And so I really just was so much a fan of it. And then once I got, I want to say like 10th grade, I was playing sports up until a certain point, and then I just got to a certain point to where I was like, I realized I wasn't going pro. And so I was like, I really like this music. And I literally spent all my time already downloading music and doing these remixes. And so just being curious and just trying stuff. At a certain point, I just wanted to release music, you know, like, and then I kind of just kept going with what works. You know, it's like one thing did good, and then that fell into the next thing. You know, I was doing my own little mix. I was really like bootlegging at the school. You know, I'd take like the top 8 songs on the radio and just make a mixtape and sell that. And so that kind of led to me doing real mixtapes, which led to, you know, me touring, and it's just kind of like one thing led to another. But I'd spent so much time around the OGs learning the mixtape game, and like I said, driving around school, going around 285, which is a big circle around Atlanta, every day after school, and I would just get this information. And so when it came to, you know, probably like 2 years, maybe like a year or two after that, from when I'd started doing that, I really knew what I was talking about. So I had the confidence of knowing, no, this is really what will help you. And then he dropped trap music, which was a better idea at the time, because if he'd have dropped a mixtape with me instead of dropping, not trap music, but Trap House, if he'd have dropped, you know, Chicken Talk would have been Chicken Talk before Trap House. You know, it's kind of like he knew the right plan at that time. And then when that kind of went left, he was like open enough to taking somebody else's suggestion.
So what was like your early, like what was your thought behind a mixtape if it wasn't so popularized in you guys' region? Like what was your thought of putting that actually together? Like what was it, the love for music, or was it the business aspect of
pure love for music?
Pure love
for music. And honestly, I've always just wanted to promote people that I was a fan of. I was pitched on doing a real mixtape. My homie was like, why don't you do a real mixtape? I was like, what is that? They're like, find artists that you like, that you want to promote, and get exclusives and put them on your tape. So me and all the homies, Black Bill Gates and Scream and all these people, Drum and all them, we were always in this like arms race to find like the dopest new music and all that. And so it really just came out of that, of me just meeting him and just being like, this dude was so funny. I didn't even like So Icy because I like Lil Will, and so the auto-tune was kind of throwing me. But I liked him. I was like, he's a character. You know, I was like, he's so funny. He's rapping about street shit, but it's making me laugh. Right. You know, I was like, it's like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas. You know, I'm like, this is entertaining. And I've always known, like, we're just dealing with entertainment at the end of the day. And it's like, I just always thought, like, if it appeals to me, maybe somebody else might like it. And so I really pitched him on the idea of how 50 Cent was doing mixtapes. Right. I was like, 50 Cent is just dropping mixtapes, but he's rapping over other people's beats. You have original songs. You could just drop essentially like an independent album, you know, but it's a mixtape. And, you know, go and book your own shows. And it actually worked. Oh, yeah, and he just kept doing mixtapes and didn't let off of it.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Do you miss the mixtape era? Because it seemed like it was more of a buzz around, you know, music as a whole. Because nowadays people drop music every day, and you listen to it for maybe a week at the most, and then you on to the next. So do you miss that mixtape era?
In certain ways, yeah. Just that find a new artist and like I said, that kind of arms race to, like, it was like a friendly competition between all of us DJs. But I think it's dope now too. I think the fact that artists can just put out their own music and get it to more places, because mixtapes were limited with the distribution. Like at a certain point you had live mixtapes and stuff like that. But for the longest, like, the CDs of Chicken Talk came up here because I physically printed them and shipped them. Right. You know, it's like, it's better that you can reach more people now. It's just things aren't curated as well. Like, as mixtape DJs, we were curating the sound of what was going on. Yeah. And it's like, you just don't really have that as much. So people don't have that go-to. Even as fans, like, we go to playlists, but that's the algorithm. And if you see the people that are making these playlists, bro, you would not be wanting to listen to. It's not, you're like, we don't got the same taste in music. You know, it's like, you see these people with the Spotify curators, you're like, all right, bro. You know, it's like, so it's like, we don't have compared to a mixtape DJ, somebody who's in the culture, who like me, who's spending time with all these people every day and out and, interacting. It's a completely different taste and, so I miss that aspect about it.
Right. So you saying like nowadays with the curators, it's like more so bird's eye view versus like left foot, right foot down, actually promoting, pushing, and the product, pushing the product and everything.
Well, it's more algorithm.
True.
It's like keyword searches and what the YouTube is going to recommend after the next one or what title is going to play next if you search one song. It's not so much as Spotify believes in these artists and they're pushing them and, kind of like how we were finding artists we believed in to push. Nobody's really doing that right now. So it's really all on you, which kind of leads us to the class that we're doing now, Music Monetization 499 at the University of Illinois. Okay. We're just preaching like self-empowerment and how to take your own career in your own hands and basically make a sustainable career as an artist.
Nice. So talk. No, you can go, bro.
I was going to say, explain the process behind creating a master class.
So I announced late last year that I was coming out with my master class options. Me and Paul and Lamont, the professor at the school, actually have a master class company now called Options. And basically, my thought was that I do a lot of consultations, and I basically I'm giving advice and helping people out all the time. And I'm like, I can't reach everybody just through me talking to them or doing the one-on-one stuff. How can I help get this information out on a bigger scale? And so I thought to do the master class. I announced that. And the professor, he had actually interviewed me on Producer Grind, a podcast like 4 years ago. Okay. He was a host on there at one point. And he was like, hey, the school, we have like 700 kids that play instruments and they all want to be in the music industry. Mm-hmm. He was like, I think the school might be interested. And they picked it up, created a new class called Music Monetization 499, and we're in week 12 now. And so that's actually what I'm up here for. I'm actually touring the school and doing some guest lectures. I'm a guest lecturer at the school this year. And so I'm doing some guest lectures and we got some events going on. So it's really cool, bro. It's really dope to be able to spread this information on a bigger scale because I feel it's necessary because we're not playing on a level playing field. There's people who really love music and you're passionate, but you don't have the tools, the knowledge, or any of the information to where the lawyers, the labels, and everybody else, they have all the power and all the information. So I'm trying to level the playing field to be like, these are the basics. This is dope music. Like we're running between we're going everywhere between mindset. We do like an assessment, like a 4-part assessment at the beginning. And then we go down to talking about your mindset, and then we talk about production concepts, like what is a dope sample, what is a sample, how do you sample, programming, different styles of programming. We're going through mixing, then we're going to networking, relationships, how to build relationships. There's a lot of stuff that me and Paul talk about that are like so second nature to us that other people don't understand. They're kind of like unwritten, not really rules, but just unwritten things of, you're not really going to ask for something before you bring something to the table. Right. You're not going to get a positive response out of the person you're doing it. A lot of people don't understand that basic thing, so instead of coming with, how can I help you? It's, hey, can you help me? Right. Which immediately people don't want to help, Right. And so just that basic thing right there, and so there's so much stuff that we talk about. So we go all the way to business, contracts, like what are PROs, CMOs, how do you collect your money? Pretty much how do you put out like your own sample packs? How do you make money off your music? How do you build a sustainable career? Because we've been able to, pretty much live and make money off of music for like 22 years, Paul, a lot longer, and we're still here for a reason, and we're trying to show that being an artist or being a producer is not some pie in the sky dream anymore that people can laugh at you for. People are making sustainable careers off of their art. There's all types of new avenues like NFTs and, bro, there's
so much.
It's really limitless. Yeah, so now when I say I miss the mixtape game, I miss that curation aspect, and maybe that's something we just need to somehow find a way to bring back. Maybe us mixtape DJs need to start dropping playlists, or I'm just thinking out loud right now. Yeah. But I'm like that space is needed because even blogs at one point replaced mixtape DJs. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like it went from mixtape DJs to blogs, and so now it's like in the hands of Spotify curators and the algorithm. And so yeah, I think that's something we could work on too. Because honestly, I'm doing the class because I feel like a lot of people get disillusioned with the industry and they're like, man, F that or whatever, But I'm like, are we just going to let other people get taken advantage of? Mm-hmm. We're just going to put our hands up. Like, it's exactly the reason of why I wanted to make beats and not complain is exactly why I'm doing the class, Exactly.
For the most part, that's been the music industry. Hide the information, get young artists, take advantage of them. Now, Paul, he keep referring to you. So explain like your introduction into music and all the way up until this point.
Yeah, well, I guess I got into it about 35 years ago, so it would have been like in the 80s. Mostly making rock records, that's what was big back then. Right. And as rap started off, I think the first rap record we made was Southern Playalistic. So that was like the start of our intro and our transition from mostly making rock records to mostly making rap records.
That was Outkast, right?
That was Outkast, yeah.
How was the impact of that album? Like, how did that change your music standard?
Well, I mean, it completely changed the whole game in Atlanta. I mean, it was at the beginning of when Atlanta was starting to bubble. So there wasn't the same kind of industry there that there is now. And after we made that record, and I was kind of witnessing the birth of what that whole Southern sound is right now. And I decided to build a bigger studio. And most people in Atlanta thought it was crazy. They were like, "You're never gonna get the projects that we don't have that kind of market in Atlanta." Was the perspective of most of my peers. And my perspective was, if I don't build it, they're never going to show up.
Right.
True.
So we built it, and they showed up, man. I mean, and it never stopped. And so for me, you know, what me and Burn One do, we started a thing, I don't know how many months ago, maybe even a year ago, called Church of Sound. And it was like, it's Sunday, we ain't got nothing to do, let's go in the studio and teach some kids about how we used to make records back in the day. Drum kits, vintage keys, live band, horn sections. And that's my world. That's where I come from. It's recording live music. And then Burn One's perspective is making loops, using the machine, chopping stuff up. So we kind of mash the two together.
Right.
And it's coming out pretty cool. I mean, we create, you know, loops. We create samples right there live with a band. Then we chop them up, create a song from those samples, and then we get the band to play over that again. Right. And it's directed usually by a guest producer. Sometimes we have some guest musicians come in as well, but we have like a core house band.
It's a TV show, to be clear, too.
Yeah, it's like a
TV show. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean, and for me, it's more about, it's two things. One is about educating, because I want the younger generations to understand how to make live music. And I want to make music that I want to listen to. Right. And I'm not, you know, I like humans, man. I don't like machines.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like music that's completely created and controlled by a machine. I prefer some human characteristic to relate to.
Exactly. So in this era, you got more people like making music. They just jumping in to make music. You know, they probably start with a few lunchroom session with their friends, freestyles, and they go into it. How important is actually educating people on what music is?
Well, I mean, I think it's crucial that people understand, who are creators of music, right? The basis of where it comes from. And I think the biggest part of the human element is that it's not perfect, first of all, right? It's not a machine. And it helps, it gives you something to relate to. You know, like I think of songs that are 20 or 30 years old that we still relate to, right? And then I think a lot of the new stuff that's coming out, and I'm thinking, what are we going to think about that in 5 years or even 2, let alone 10 or 20? Right. And I think what's missing is that human element. And bringing that back, you know, not just the lyrics and the vocal performance, but the musical performance as well. So yeah, that's my goal. That's my perspective, is to try and bring back humans into music as much as possible, and including all the imperfection. I mean, when I was coming up, some of my favorite songs were songs with mistakes, things that were you could hear the mistake and everybody would talk about the mistake. And that made it relatable to me, right?
Like, talk about an example of like a song with a mistake. Like, what would you consider one?
God, I don't know. I can't think of a specific
35
one.
35 years.
But I'm just like I could think of like an old Led Zeppelin song on Physical Graffiti. I'm trying to remember the name of the title, but there was like a window open or something when they recorded that shit, and there was an airplane going by in the background.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you can hear this airplane in the background. It doesn't take away from the song at all. In fact, it makes it that much cooler. Right. So just that kind of stuff. Or when somebody's maybe slightly not perfect when they sing, that ain't the end of the world to me. Right. I'd rather have the emotion in a performance than have a perfect performance.
Gotcha.
DJ Burn One, let me ask you, how important has it been to have somebody like Paul around to help you grow as a DJ and an artist?
Man, it's been really crucial, and I've known Paul for probably like 15 years. I started going around when I was A&R for Bubba Sparks, And I remember going to the room for the first time, and we were in M, and I remember somebody saying, yeah, this is the room Andre recorded Hey Ya in. And I'd never been to a big studio like that before, and I was like, I never want to leave this place, you know? And so then when I met him, just kind of like at one of the little, little parties they were having, I just literally just kept talking to him, and we would always just have these great conversations and just keep building. And anytime I got projects, I would just try to bring them up there. You know, anytime I got a budget or anything, I bring it up there. And then when I ever need some time, you know, sometimes they would, you know, he always looks out for the community in different ways, you know, like artist needs time or something like that sometimes. So, but honestly, his tutelage as far as like, even up until this day, bro, but just period, like just talking a lot of things, like you said, like people skip the basics, you know? So like even just something even more recently that I've learned that he's really showed me is just how your monitoring system is set up. You know, like you don't realize how your speakers and if you have a sub, how it's impacting how you make music, how you mix, how everything, like if it's a little wonky and things aren't right and your right speaker's a little too loud or things are kind of like not set how they're supposed to be, you're not going to be making the right decisions. Or if you have like one thing in your signal chain, like I had this Yamaha mixer that was just randomly in my signal chain for the longest. And like, you know, 3 months ago I replaced it with a Dangerous Audio, like a nice monitor controller. And it's a world of difference. You know, and last night he was breaking down exactly what that was, how the Yamaha mixer is like, you know, lower class components and it's making the sound smaller. Now I can hear everything, and every judgment I'm making and every decision I'm making is a true decision because I'm getting a representation of the sound that's true. I'm getting like a one-to-one. Yeah. It's like a mirror as opposed to getting like this different image. I was telling him I pulled up a song that I had mixed at my other house a year ago, and it was like night and day between having this properly aligned system and that. I pulled it up, and within 15 minutes it sounded amazing. You know, it's like I knew exactly what I needed to do, where sometimes you'll just mess around. And so a lot of these basics of, you know, fundamentals of studio stuff and then fundamentals, like I said, of just personal tact and dealing with people, you know. And honestly, our goal really is like we want to help people make better music. We want to hear better music in the world. And I'm not a complainer. Yeah. You know, I might complain, but in the complaint, I'm coming back with some type of solution or some type of, you know, like, and this is what we can do. You know, it's like constructive criticism. You know, like music isn't as great as it could be, even though more people are making it. I think just the entry, you know, the bar for entry is just so low. You can do anything, like as long as you can get to a mic, you know, you can record. Definitely. It's not like, you know, Motown, you used to have to like work your way up and, you know, there's no system, there's no like mentors for the most part. And so that's kind of what the role that we're playing now is like trying to help like mentor those coming up right now and saying like if you play strings, you know, if you play violin or something, you don't just have to join the Philharmonic Orchestra or something like that. That's dope. Maybe you don't even get into that, you know. Maybe you do composing and you want to make pop music or you want to score films or different things like that. Like we've been lucky enough to do sound design for the 1917 movie trailer and Justice League movie trailer. So like some of those gun sounds and stuff you hear is like us smashing Hennessy bottles and, you know, putting 808 on it, distorted and all types of like random stuff. And so we just want to show people there's different ways to make money off of music. We scored Snow on the Bluff. That was a big independent film in Atlanta. And so there's different things. We scored, what do you call it? Like, commercials for Ubisoft and different stuff like that. So we're just showing there's all types of ways to monetize your music and really think about it. There's music playing everywhere you go. Exactly. And that money's being paid for. You know, so don't let people convince you there's no money in music. You know, it's like it's out here and we just have to find the ways and then we just have to share it. You know, it's like I find like a lot of the legends that are paid and don't really care about giving back. And the legends that didn't get taken care of are salty and don't want to give back. So who's passing the information down, you know? I could kind of say it. It's like I was watching some nature show on Netflix. It might have been Planet Earth or something. But they'll show how like the big elephants will take the small elephants and they'll walk hundreds of miles to the water hole. And they'll show them how to not get eaten by a predator or whatever, and then they make it back. It's like nobody has that in the music business. There's no mentors. There's nobody saying, hey, look out for this, look out for that. And there's people selling stuff online and it's not, you know, either they're not dope or they're not talking about the real things, you know. And so I feel like we're just giving people the real, you know, giving them the information and giving them options, you know, as far as like different techniques and ways to make music and kind of make it in this.
So how important is maintaining relationships? Because you know what I'm saying, you got early work from artists like Gucci and ASAP, and these are like projects that like birth generations of like music lovers, you know what I'm saying? So how important is a relationship down the road that you can maintain for like 15 years, 20 years, however long?
Man, I think relationships are paramount, and then some relationships are only meant for a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like me and Gucci were really only cool around that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like certain other artists, being Rocky or whoever, really around that time, and that was just our time, and that was what it was meant to be.
Right.
But on the whole, relationships are paramount. I mean, think about me and Paul. Like,
Exactly.
going back 10, 12 years, now when I had the idea, kind of towards the end of last year to do the masterclass, I'm like, where am I going to shoot it?
Mm-hmm.
Where else would I shoot it than my favorite studio in the world, Tree Sound,
Right.
So talking to him, we made it make sense, and now it's turning into so much more. And now we have like a plan to come out with other master classes with different producers and artists and mixers and different things. And we'll have a chance to come up with like the new curriculum for the modern day producer, composer, musician, sound designer, anybody that wants to get into the music industry. I feel like we're going to give you like the 101, and then past that, we're going to give you advanced techniques.
Before we get out of here, tell everybody how they can get in tune with y'all, stay in tune with y'all, and support you as far as the masterclass goes.
Definitely. Appreciate y'all for having us on again.
No problem.
Yeah, man.
No problem.
Absolutely.
No
It's been wonderful. At DJ Burn1, DJ BURNONE on all social media, www.the5pointsbakery.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can find the masterclass pre-order up there. We got a promo code, DGB50, DGB50, and you'll get $50 off on that. And then, bro, just watch out for all the stuff we have coming out, man.
Yeah.
We got options coming out, the full masterclass that'll be available to the public soon, and then we'll have more masterclasses after that. Like you said, we got Tree Church of Sound, the show. We got the DJ Monte episode dropping any day now, and then we'll have, I think we got like 2 more in the can ready to go. And so the Honorable C Note episode's crazy. He went crazy.
Yeah, shout out Honorable C Note.
Yeah, bro, he's up from this way, I think Michigan or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, man. So yeah, and then Paul, you say?
Yeah, man. Just treesoundstudios.com.
Okay.
Or just Google us.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
All right, Jimmy, talk to the people.
The show. Hey, shout out DJ Burn1 and Paul for coming through. Thank y'all for coming all this way, man. It's been a pleasure speaking to y'all. Make sure y'all get in tune with the master classes. Any upcoming artists listening, if you want to check it out, get educated, get in tune. Make sure y'all tap in everything they got going on. If you're down their way, Tree Sound Studios, that's out in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So how can like regular like artists just come in there and book right on the website?
Yep, right on the website. There's
Okay,
a form to fill out.
Oh yeah, most definitely. If you're down in Atlanta, make sure y'all tune in to Tree Sound Studio.
Yeah,
And,
that's my favorite studio. Y'all definitely gotta check that out.
The show, follow Ill Sound Radio, ILLSOUND Radio. Shout out iLLANOiZE Radio for the Monday special interview segment.
Shout out.
The show, man. Make sure y'all download the app, streaming music 24/7. Ooh, snap. Make sure y'all submit music on the website as well. Follow me, GROOVNUKE. And Jay, what you got to say to him?
Man, I appreciate both of y'all for sliding through and chopping it up. I love asking that question, like as far as the younger advice, because I always get so many different answers, and I feel like it's always gems that I drop when I ask that question. So I appreciate both of y'all for being open and honest. This is our first time interviewing a professor. You might not legally, or you know what I'm saying, professionally have that, but to go from making mixtapes at school, bro, to teaching a master class, like that's special. And I like how both of y'all kept saying y'all goal is to teach. Y'all goal is to teach, because now I feel like information is like a new drug nowadays. We all in search of information, and sometimes it's hard to find that right information on YouTube. So to have it all in one place is special and powerful, and it cuts out a lot of time wasted. You know what I'm saying?
Facts, bro. And actually in the masterclass, the last video is on research and discernment and how important it is to be able to understand how to research on your own, how to figure out what's BS and what's not. Because, bro, we are in the information age.
Yes. Everywhere.
You know, and it's like people are information overload and they don't know what to do with it. Yeah. And so we're kind of showing you how to sift through it and take what you need. You know?
Yeah.
No, definitely.
So I appreciate everything y'all doing for the culture, everything y'all done for the culture, and everything that y'all got planned for the future, because like y'all say, y'all not done yet. So salute to both of y'all.
Hey, thank y'all. Much love, man. I appreciate that, bro.
Most definitely.
And until Sunday.
Right. We'll be right back Sunday, 12 p.m., man. Ill Sound Radio logging out.
And we gone.
All right.